Hey, Dan Meyer here, and we are back for part 2 of how to kick off your first webinar. So in the first part, I talked a lot about my background, about why I do webinars, why webinars are so important to my business, why I think webinars are the best way for us to deliver valuable content to our clients. I talked about the 2 most important aspects of having a great webinar. And there are things that people generally overlook. How to set good goals, how to know your audience, understanding the format you're going to use, understanding how you're going to map out your content. How are you going to deliver a journey, a story for your audience that's going to get them to engage with you, stay engaged, and take action. That is part 1. That's what we covered in the first video. Today we're going to go through the other 7 steps, right? There's 5 more of the 7 steps. So we covered 2 yesterday. Today we're talking about visual learning, which I could do a whole talk on visual learning, but how you should design for visual learning. How to be creative so that you separate yourself from everyone else. Everyone's recording videos. Everyone's got webinars. Everyone's doing conferences and seminars online. How do you make yours different? Talk about how to promote your webinar, what we do in Sonic VA to promote my webinars, my talks, our clients' talks. We'll talk about the importance of practice and talk about how to do replays. That's our agenda for today, right? So basically, I want to start with designing your slides, assuming you're using PowerPoint. If you're using some other variation of a slideshow, it goes the same. But basically, you want to do a lot of cool graphics, right? And I have my VA do graphics in Canva, right? So if you don't do it yourself, if you hire a VA, they're probably going to know Canva. Most VAs out there, virtual assistants, are using Canva. Some use Stencil, some use PicMonkey. There are other dozen or so out there. Those are the top 3. But you want to make sure that your slides, that your visuals, have effective content for the webinar. They're easy to read, right, is most important. And that you get people to look at something and memorize it and have it stick in their memory. This is very simple, right? And we screw it up all the time. First of all, you never want to just straight talk. And second of all, you never want to just show your video the whole time, your slideshow the whole time. Your video should be mostly you talking, engaging, being interactive, moving around, having action, right? That's important. It goes against what people think you should do when it comes to speaking. People think you should speak like this and not have hand movement and not move your head around and not move from the podium. That's so boring, right? No, you want to have activity. If nothing else, YouTube has taught us that people that get like this in a video do better. People like it. I don't know why. Maybe you don't like what I'm doing right now, but you're the minority. Most people, they feel more engaged when someone's kind of like talking to them directly. Think about that when you design your slides, because most of what you want to do with your slides is use them to give you cues on what to say, not for you to talk about the slide while people are looking at it. Again, that goes against conventional wisdom, right? You want to flash for a couple seconds, long enough for people to read things from slides or images. They don't have to be from a slideshow. They can just be images that have been created, but you want to have like a topic, a couple bullet points, a couple visuals on most of your slides, right? Things that are easy to read. Things that people can file away quickly in their memory, right? So for example, design your slides. Your slides need to present effective content based on the format of your webinar, and you want to create a deck that emphasizes important topic points, right? That's right there. It's in black on white. There is no better visual cue for people to learn something than looking at black text on white, because most books, which we grew up learning from reading books, black on white, right? Putting pink or fuchsia text on a light aqua blue background is horrible for visual learning. People can't make sense of it. Their brain goes into cognitive shutdown. They just can't follow it. Designing for simplicity is super important. So have a graphic designer do your slides. Have someone who's got a talent for graphic design. Use Canva to make your slides, or you can do it yourself. The next thing is when you create the pages, you want to think about what you're going to get out of the page, right? When you create a page for your webinar, to host it, to have people come to sign up, whatever it may be, you want to think about how to get the most out of it. Now, I think the best way to set up a webinar is Eventbrite. Eventbrite's kind of the market leader when it comes to online events, and they've really blown up in this time. It's good because it sets a professional format. People are used to it. You have the option to charge or upgrade. You can give a free basic, and then you can do an upgrade where you give them additional content, either a recording of the video, or you You give them additional things like the PowerPoint slides or whatever. So whatever you do, you want to make sure that you get a lot of things covered in when you create the page, right? So Eventbrite does it all up for you. You can just fill out the format and boom, it's done. The other thing about Eventbrite I love is Eventbrite allows you to capture emails, right? It gets the lead, right? That's important because you want to make sure that you have a follow-up to people that attend your webinar, right? If you just use Zoom and send a link out, you're not going to know exactly who's online. You can get people to sign up and you can email them if you have their email address, but Eventbrite requires it, right? So it's a lead capture tool. Eventbrite's also good because whatever you do on Eventbrite, you can easily post to Facebook to create a Facebook event that mirrors the Eventbrite. So it's much easier to share on social media. You can also use Meetup. There are also other ones that you can use out there to set up event pages. You can build a website for an event page. There's so many ways to go about this, but the bottom line is your web page should be a place you send people to pre-webinar to be able to capture their leads, to get their information, to gauge their interest, to survey them, to get feedback, to start the engagement process. One of the things I do is I have VAs not just post things about upcoming events or places I'll be talking or putting webinars. I have them build engagement, right? So when I share things and people like it, my VAs contact them. My VAs ask them questions. Is this something you're looking for? Do you want to answer a couple quick questions? Would you mind if we got your feedback? They do things to kind of help me design better webinars, but more importantly, build up that sense of engagement. So when you create a page, a landing page for your event, use Eventbrite. It's just easier. If you don't use Eventbrite, or even if you're using Eventbrite, think about how you're using that in the general scheme of things. And then you start promoting, right? When you go to promote, most of the stuff we promote, we start with Facebook, we start with LinkedIn. That's my target market. That's where my clients for my virtual staffing business live, right? So Facebook groups, Facebook business pages, LinkedIn groups, my LinkedIn page. That's where we go. We do occasionally go to Instagram for certain things. We do occasionally do things on Twitter or Pinterest. I use YouTube a lot to hold content. YouTube is my library. I haven't really toyed too much with YouTube as a marketing tool, but you can do this, right? So any social media that you find is in your wheelhouse. Think about how to promote on that. And the next thing is to practice. This is the most important thing. Practice, 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 right? My mentor, Bill Walsh, says that, you need 1,000 swings at the plate before you're really, really great at public speaking. And before you even get out there and do your first real big step onto the stage, whether that be, you want to be able to speak on a virtual stage or a physical stage, you want to get 100 practice swings in first, right? That means you want to be having 100 times where you speak in front of a group before you really do something big. Now, some of us are gifted and we can do it in less than that. Me, as a teacher, I had a background. I've been speaking on a stage since I was like 18 years old. So I do this a lot. I have spoken on over 1,000 stages in front of, tens of thousands of people over the years. And so I always practice, though. I look at every video as a practice, right? Learn from every process, engage, connect, and get feedback, constant feedback. The last thing we'll talk about today is what to do with the replay of the webinar, right? There's a lot of gold that we leave on the table when it comes to once we do the webinar. We do the webinar, we send it out there, we promote it, we get people excited about it, we get 5 people show up and no one buys. And we just are done with the webinar, right? We don't repackage it. We don't try again. We don't do something that's a loss, right? When we record content, we should be thinking already about how to repackage that, how to replay that. And I don't just mean sending a link out to what you did. How do you get new buzz around it? Because things go stale very quickly online, right? If you record a video today and you do a webinar, people are going to think that it's something that they probably just want to watch once. They want to just have it see it live, or they don't care anymore about it. If it's a week old, it's past news, it's old news, right? This is a mentality you're fighting. So how do you repackage things? How do you replay things? By giving additional content. Watch this replay to the end and get a free gift. Watch this replay and enter into a giveaway, sweepstakes. Do things like that. Use the same content, but rebrand it. Make it a new entry in the webinar series. When you do webinars, right, usually they're live and usually you record them. So if you're doing that, then you can do so much more after the fact. If you're pre-recording the webinar and you're just delivering it, then you've got even more ability to cut and slice that webinar to do teasers, to do trailers. And of course, after, you want to have someone cut trailers for you to promote things to come back to it, right? Snippets, pieces, right? So this is all a strategy that we use for webinars, right? And I send out messages to everyone who attends an event I send out messages to people that I connect with. I send out engagement things, and I don't mean me, I mean my VA doing this for me. On LinkedIn, we do a lot with mining information of our clients, of our connections, of our followers, to make sure we keep them engaged. We don't spam them, but we offer them a newsletter. We offer them a subscription to our YouTube channel. We do things to keep them engaged beyond just that first webinar where we met them. So that's it in a nutshell, right? VAs should do things like helping you manage your LinkedIn, helping you promote your media spots, helping you get booked on stages. I didn't talk about how to do podcasts. I didn't talk about how to get booked on other people's stages. Those are kind of related. This is really more focused on your webinar. But basically, any chance you get to be speaking, you should do, so that when you do webinars, they are consistent, they are clear, and they give your audience a sense of certainty. That's what a VA helps you do. It helps you develop this framework I talked about over these last video today and the video yesterday about how to think about the goals, how to build up your knowledge of your audience, how to design your slides for your audience, how to think about the visuals, how to do all the pre-marketing, all the marketing, all the creation of the content, the actual delivery of it, and what you do post. That all can be done through a framework that you can replicate. And if you have a VA doing that for you, it will be consistent, which will give you more clarity in what you do, so you can focus on that delivery itself, and then it will give more certainty because you're doing something consistent, and it happens over time. Consistently, people start thinking, okay, I'm always going to get the same thing, which I want, right? You want that system, you want that franchise effect, you want the McDonald's experience, not the cheap part, but you know what you're going to get, and you're guaranteed you're going to get what you pay for experience when it comes to a webinar. That's my tips, right? So if you want to get started, text the word data to 26786, drop a comment below, or go to Sonic VA, it's sonicva.com, and we'll get you started with a virtual assistant that can help you kick off not just your first webinar, but a series of webinars that are done in ways that are going to be much more successful, much more impactful than just you talking into the camera or talking over a PowerPoint for a half hour or more. Those are just, they don't work, right? So think about what you can do in your industry, with your business, with your IP. What can you do to solve problems? Webinars help you do that. Webinars help you get your message out, and we have a system that will help you make a much better webinar, much more effective webinar, much more consistent experience for your audience. Again, thanks for your time. Now go out there and have a wonderful day.